The United States Marines were in deep trouble. October 25th, 1942, was a miserable day for them on the island of Guadalcanal, with gunfire all along their perimeter. The Marines called it Dugout Sunday. Heavy rain on the previous day had halted all air operations. However, the Japanese were attacking them in full force. In the morning, Japanese planes bombed Henderson Field, the Marine airstrip, while land and sea traffic picked up on all sides of the island. Every American on Guadalcanal knew that this was Japan's big push to retake the Solomon Islands. It was do or die. Would they make it out alive? Back in August 1942, the 1st Marine Division had landed on Guadalcanal in the Solomons as part of Operation Watchtower, the first major U.S. offensive in the Pacific theater of World War II. But within 2 days of the landing, disaster struck. Japanese naval forces from Rabaul counterattacked, defeating Allied forces at the Battle of Santa Cruz. Having lost 4 cruisers and over 1,000 men killed, the Allied fleet retreated into open water, leaving the Marines trapped. Meanwhile, Japanese reinforcements poured in, hoping to retake Guadalcanal. A new regiment arrived in August, then a new brigade landed in September. Finally, a fresh division came ashore in October, and yet the Marines held on. But as of the 3rd week of October, Major General Alexander Vandegrift believed his Marines could not last much longer without the Navy's help. The fleet needed to return to the Solomon Islands, it needed to secure the area, and it needed to sink the Japanese carrier fleet. The success of the American war effort in the South Pacific hinged on the results of the next battle at sea. That battle came on October 26, 1942, one day after Dugout Sunday. It was called the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands. To the sailors who participated in it, it was simply Bloody Santa Cruz. Although the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands is largely forgotten today, it was one of the epic clashes of the Pacific War, involving 2 aircraft carrier fleets that engaged each other from afar. Although it is not as famous as the Battle of Midway or the Battle of the Coral Sea, the Battle of Santa Cruz was as important to America's overall success in World War II. It determined if the U.S. Navy would reclaim the South Pacific. Although scholars have sometimes described it as a tactical defeat for the United States Navy, its long-term consequences produced a strategic victory, as it drove the Japanese carrier force back into hiding and enabled the Allied conquest of Guadalcanal, the only major American offensive in the Pacific in the year 1942. More importantly, 262 American sailors gave their lives during this battle, a testament to the engagement's ferocity. The Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands occurred because of plans made by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the attack on Pearl Harbor. From his base at Truk Atoll, Yamamoto arranged for an all-out offensive to settle the stalemated Solomon Islands campaign once and for all. On land, Lieutenant General Hirokichi Hayakutake would launch an assault against the U.S. Marines. At sea, 3 Japanese fleets under Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, Vice Admiral Nobutake Kondo, and Rear Admiral Hiroaki Abe would sail from Truk toward the Santa Cruz Islands, a small island cluster south and east of the Solomons. This move would threaten America's South Pacific base at Espiritu Santo and draw out the U.S. fleet so it could be engaged in a climactic, decisive battle. Between them, the 3 Japanese fleets contained 3 fleet carriers, the Shokaku, Zuikaku, and Junyo, 1 light carrier, the Zuiho, 5 battleships, 14 cruisers, and 44 destroyers. On October 18th, when news of the Japanese offensive reached his headquarters in Hawaii, Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander-in-chief of the Navy's Pacific Forces, replaced his deputy commander in the South Pacific. Unable to respond to the Japanese threat, Vice Admiral Robert Gormley was wasting away in the tropical climate on Noumea, struggling with health problems and depression. Nimitz believed the time had come for an aggressive commander to take charge. Gormley's replacement, Vice Admiral William Halsey, acted quickly. Although it was hardly ideal, he decided to take Yamamoto's bait by sending his ships to the Santa Cruz Islands. He had little choice. General Hyakutaki's offensive had already begun. The Solomon Islands needed to be secured, and the Marines required the Navy's assistance to do it. As Halsey remembered, "I had to begin throwing punches almost immediately. Quick decisions had to be made." During a brief conference with General Vandegrift, Halsey promised to give him everything he had available. Unfortunately, the U.S. Navy's South Pacific Force was in miserable shape. Over the course of the past 5 months, the U.S. fleet had lost heavily in aircraft, pilots, and aircraft carriers. On May 8th, USS Lexington was sunk by Japanese carrier bombers at the Battle of the Coral Sea. 1 month later, a Japanese submarine sank USS Yorktown as it was returning from the Battle of Midway. On August 31st, another Japanese submarine torpedoed USS Saratoga, sending it to Pearl Harbor for 3 months' worth of repairs. Finally, on September 15th, another Japanese submarine torpedoed USS Wasp, sending it to the bottom of the Pacific, along with 45 planes and 193 men. Only 2 aircraft carriers remained, USS Hornet and USS Enterprise. Together with 1 battleship, 6 cruisers, and 13 destroyers, Hornet and Enterprise formed Task Force 61, commanded by Rear Admiral Thomas Kinkaid. Halsey's orders to Kinkaid were to sweep north of the Santa Cruz Islands and search for enemy ships. If Kinkaid's carriers found nothing, they had orders to rendezvous with Rear Admiral Willis Lee's surface fleet near Rennell Island. However, Halsey anticipated that Kinkaid's carriers would make contact. Like Yamamoto, he predicted that the resulting battle would be decisive. Each day, one of the 2 American carriers sent out search planes looking for traces of the enemy fleet. But each day, they found nothing. For 5 days, the Japanese admirals kept their ships out of range of the Santa Cruz Islands, awaiting news of the surrender of the Marines on Guadalcanal. But then, on the morning of October 25th, an American land-based B-17 flying out of Guadalcanal and 2 PBY flying boats from Santa Cruz and Espiritu Santo located the 3 Japanese fleets. Once spotted, the Japanese admirals knew they must attack the next day. Using the nighttime hours to ready their airstrikes, they marked October 26th as the day to commence the sea battle that Yamamoto had envisioned. From his base at Noumea, Halsey learned of these sighting reports. The Japanese were in full force near Santa Cruz, and the Americans were badly outnumbered. Still, Halsey gave Kinkaid an order to engage. A message came in over the radio. "Strike! Repeat, strike!" With that, the Battle of Santa Cruz was on. In the following videos, you will hear the words of participants from that battle. Many of these veterans who fought there have since passed on, but before they died, they left behind vivid accounts of their experiences. Voice actors will read aloud their words to bring their experiences back to life. And thus, we can take a step forward and put Bloody Santa Cruz back into the pantheon of famous American naval engagements.